Welcome to Navigating Marketing and AI with Sydne Mullings, the podcast that unravels the dynamic intersection of marketing strategies and the cutting-edge world of artificial intelligence.
Hi, I'm your host, Sydne Mullings. Today, I'm chatting with Chandra Stevens. Chandra is a principal customer experience strategist at Microsoft, specializing in helping organizations develop solutions to engage with customers through personalized interactions. I recently heard Chandra speak at NRF, the National Retail Federation Conference, and was so intrigued with her work with customers and how AI is playing a role that I invited her to my podcast to dive deeper into the topic. Welcome to the show, Chandra.
Hi, Sydney. I'm really excited to be here today, and I look forward to answering questions and sharing it with the audience.
To kick things off, please share a bit about you, your background, and your journey.
I have been through multiple different roles here, from when we had Windows Phone way back when to, moving into data platform area, working on data, which is a very passionate area for me because data is the foundation of, everything we do. And especially as we start talking about AI. I am based in New York, so I've been working with agencies and some of the top brands, nationally, internationally for many, many years. And so through that, I've learned so much more about marketing. And part of that journey, I even went to Columbia and was part of their CMO Institute, where a lot of the top CMOs from here in New York were actually the professors that were educating us. So it's been a really fun ride.
What I'd love to start with is, what are some of the things that you're hearing from customers in your work?
It's a wide variety of what I'm hearing. And that also is due to where are they on the maturity path around AI? So, are they in that early ad hoc stage where they're just thinking about use cases or limited, understanding, but they're starting to go experimental to strategic. And then there are some pioneers, people who've been doing AI for quite a long time, and now they're even taking it to the next level. So if I look at it from that lens, in the early stages, it's more, how can I advance productivity? And my take on that is typically when they're in that early phase is think about 2 to 3 use cases and use some off-the-shelf tooling that can help expedite it. And it definitely makes it easier to get up and running with it. And in those cases, it's a lot about optimizing the content creation. So how can I generate and produce content quicker, faster, extending the reach of my limited resources. And then as you move into some of the more elaborate or the next stages, I'd say more into more experimental, systematic, goes to the next part of the whole marketing cycle. When I do my brief, how do I start generating my brief with AI? What's the imagery that should go into my content? So image creation and image alteration. And then to the level 2 of starting to do segmentation, because, when we've all been in the world of marketing, segmentation has in the past typically taken quite a while. You might wait on a data scientist to do it, and then they have to do the data prep to do the segmentation. So that's been another key area. Some of the other things I'm seeing too is some of these large organizations tend to lean towards that pioneering end. So, for example, Nestle, they have 15,000 global marketers. And part of what they look at with using AI is make sure everybody stays on brand. That's a large amount of marketers globally. So how do you make sure you're on brand and everything across what you produce is staying on brand, localized in the different regions as well? Virgin Cruises is even looking at how to use Gen AI to create a synthesized persona or avatar, if you will, to actually answer questions about the cruise. They even did this where you could utilize a celebrity, and it's very entertaining, I think, that they called it Gen AI, as in Jennifer Lopez, and it's JENAI. So it is Jennifer Lopez, and you can actually do, a different voiceover to have her talk about the cruise line. So some very interesting things I'm seeing out there.
I love that story and the awesome range that you describe. And it's interesting that experimentation as it moves forward, almost following the marketing process. So people starting earlier where it's just about maybe blocking and tackling and how do I do some of the basics. And then as you move to more complex workload, that experimentation has been moving and getting more complex along the way. Do I hear that right?
Yeah, exactly. And if you think about the full life cycle from doing research, Then how do I take it into my strategic planning? So how can I use Gen AI to look at the performance of what I put out in the market or my campaigns and optimize that for better return on my paid advertising, as an example? And then even into how do I now take that into my marketing org for knowledge and productivity, for ongoing upskilling training as well. So it kind of goes the full gamut when you think about what you can do with it in marketing.
I'm wondering, as you're talking to customers, are you hearing any common problems or challenges they're having as they move along that maturity curve?
It's an interesting question. And usually in some of the more recent conversations too, the topics come up. How do I ensure my data is secure and not being shared? And especially the way we look at it at Microsoft too, we don't share your data. Your data is your data. It's not shared in any other foundational models, but that's always top of mind. And then it's also, you have to have buy-in across the organization to really roll this out. So, I was reading a Harvard Business Review that there are employees who still might think it could be valuable, but won't use it because they also believe that it could diminish their roles, which we hear that a lot. We all start really thinking about it to the extent of what AI can do. It is your assistant. It doesn't have empathy. If you're creative as well, you have to have empathy in what you do in your creative artistic work, but it really is an assistant.
I think that's so interesting, and certainly common themes that I hear about what may be some of the reservations or concerns, maybe even potentially internal roadblocks that people face. Like, what is the governance? Do you see any particular technique that's helping people get over some of those hurdles?
Now, the other things I've started to see is to have a strategic AI team within the organization who put in the governance and rules, and to the degree of who has access or who doesn't have access. Because, there's also that Gen AI is coming in different orgs and people don't even know it in a lot of cases. So how do they start to put some of that in place? And again, it's really learning what responsible AI means. And so that is through other policy making, also keeping up with regulations that are coming out from government entities as well.
I love that, right? I mean, the sharing of information, the sharing of learning from ourselves, and looking at internally, how do you set up the team that's going to have accountability, that's going to help others in the organization make way. I think those are really some great points of advice. So I just wonder, from your seat, what do you see as next for some of the customers that you're talking to?
I've seen the gamut of things coming up. Yesterday, I happened to be at an agency event, and the whole topic was on search. So if you think about search, there's so much going on with Copilot capabilities across search. And it's even to the point, well, how do I optimize my keyword search? Can I use Gen AI to help me do that? And how do I start embedding advertising in that, or some of the other questions? Because it's really changing the shape of search from searching to finding, because now I'm finding and I'm doing much more prompting to the point I can say, I found it, now I want to buy it right now through search. So going from, I want to reduce the mundane tasks, and then taking it to the next level. How do I take it to where I can just provide an outcome that I want? And this is the progression, and how we're even looking at it from in our own product area, is if I gave Copilot an outcome, let's say I want to increase my conversion rate by 5%, and it will then go and do all the associated tasks and thinking and take the lead, basically, to look across all my past campaigns, all my data, look across my briefs that I have, and then really say, here you go. Here's your top performing segments to look after. Here's your customer journey that you can leverage for this. Here's where, as this goes live, you can optimize it, because we're seeing, for example, the subject line isn't performing well, or an image should be changed. And to the extent even then to take that down to synthesize personas and do that A/B testing against those personas to ensure the campaign performs well, to do that A/B testing before you take it out to market.
I love your thinking there. I know people hearing this will be excited about that possibility for them, because there's so much richness in that, right? Not only how can I work more efficiently, but how can I think about where am I trying to get to in the end and have an assistant, right, help me figure out where are the areas I should tweak or look at or remember where my top performing previous tactics were. So I think that maybe the final question building off that is, the big question we're trying to help people answer is how do they get started?
Of course, one, start your own AI, or but lack of a better word, task force, right? So, to make sure you've got the governance and compliance in as well. But then the next phase is you really need to get your data in order because AI, the foundation of the AI is your data. So if your data isn't good, the output's not going to be good. And then from there, really think about and focus on what are the first 2 to 3 use cases. So again, is it to reduce some mundane tasks, increase productivity in a specific area? Or if you're further along the journey, then take it up a notch to utilize the tools that you can get out of off the shelf. Tooling is a good start. But then if you want to do more deeper level too, of course, then you can shift into going down the path of doing some Copilot Studio type capabilities or open AI use of the technology too. And again, from there, it's really thinking about how do I want to extend this further? As I mentioned, the Gen AI story, right? Taking it to that level where it's an avatar doing these things. An interesting story farther down the path too. Spirits company, very large one, and they wanted to celebrate one of their brands' 150th year birthday celebration. And they put it into Gen AI to look across all the recipes that they had for beer in this scenario. And then based on that too, it generated the type of the recipe for this launch for the 150 year anniversary. It created the brand for it. It created the imagery for it, and they launched it, and they really had a great success with that too. And it was all done with Gen AI. And the irony of it, the name of the brand was autonomous. so some really interesting things. Yeah.
I love that. That's such a great example. I really appreciate you sharing your time and all of this great insight with us. It's been great to spend this time with you, Chandra. Thank you so much for joining.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure and really enjoyed the conversation.